Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. Time to talk a little pack of football. Steve Sparky Fifer from Sports Radio 1250.
I really missed that. It's been almost a year since pack of football.
Co-host of the Wendy's Big Show weekday afternoons on Sports Radio 1250 from 2 to 6 in the afternoon. He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times here at RacineSportsZone.com. Let's talk about this Green Bay Packers football team. First video of the year. Your thoughts on Julius Peppers and what his impact will be on this defense?
Minimal. Maybe zero.
First one I've heard say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. They rolled the dice, and I don't blame them for going out and getting Julius Peppers.
Got to applaud Ted for doing it, because Ted never does anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. For Thompson to do that, at least it's a step in the right direction. But you know what? The Bears aren't exactly an inept organization. I mean, they're a solid organization. They make,
I like their GM now.
Yeah, exactly. So if they really thought Julius Peppers was still that type of impact player, they wouldn't let him get away, okay? The other thing is, I watched the game the other night, and it really hit home to me. It's like when I saw him backpedaling as an outside linebacker.
Stiff.
He's not an outside linebacker. It's the same with Perry, when the kid they drafted from Southern Cal. He's not a linebacker. And I'll tell you what, the really good teams, they're going to expose him. They're going to get isolations.
But this is the thing, though. We don't know how they're going to use him. And they're not showing.
Well, based on what we saw the other night.
They're not showing. This is not what you're going to see.
I agree. He's a rusher. And I understand that, and everybody knows.
No, what I'm telling you is you don't know how they're going to play him. I'm of the belief that they're going to run a bunch of 4-3 that we haven't seen yet, and nobody's seen. And you're not going to see a lot of what they're going to run until you see Seattle on Thursday night. They're not going to let Seattle see anything they're doing.
Well, I understand, but at some time you have to get them acclimated to the actual situation, so they got to show it at some point.
I don't think they will.
I mean,
I really don't, because Peppers has experience with his hand in the dirt, right? So
exactly.
When he got the hurry in this last game, it was with his hand in the dirt. So I really think until we see the first 3 or 4 weeks, I think we'll have a better idea on Peppers. But there are definitely two extreme camps. There's a camp that doesn't think he'll do anything, and then there's a camp that thinks he'll put him in the top 10 in defense. Yeah, so there are two big differences in fan base right now where they think he's going to.
I think he's going to tease you. It's a guy's going to make a play or two, and all of a sudden you won't see him again.
Sure.
And if they can live with it, so be it. But
what's the biggest concern for you on the defensive side of the ball?
Their linebacking core. I think it's just very run-of-the-mill, very pedestrian.
Hawk and Brad Jones are definitely.
We've been talking about Hawk for the last 4 or 5 years, and last year he actually had a decent year, a solid year, but he wasn't anything special. No. And you go across the board, all 4 linebackers outside of Matthews, and
Matthews can't stay healthy.
Matthews can't stay healthy. You know what's weird though? I mean, if you believe in history repeating itself, Matthews has a track record of having a great year, a so-so year, a great year, so-so year. Last year, the so-so year. So if you believe it's his turn to bounce back, that would obviously bode well for the Packers.
Oh, the other guy that there's a lot of pressure on is B.J. Raji at nose. He goes back to nose. This is supposed to be his position where he's going to benefit from. And if he takes up 2 or 3 guys, that should free up Hawk and Brad Jones. I get it. I just don't see him maintaining that intensity level game in and game out. They're paying him $4 million, so really he's playing for a big contract. It's a 1-year deal with the Packers. There's a lot of pressure on B.J. Raji.
He should thank the Lord that A.J. Hawk is on their team, because A.J. Hawk takes all the grief, all the guff.
Yes, he does.
Because he's underachieved, being a high selection. Raji, a high selection.
Yep.
If Hawk wasn't there, all eyes would be on Raji.
Absolutely.
And they'd say, hey, this guy has really, really underachieved. And I'm curious to see how he's going to do, back in his, quote, normal position.
There's pressure on Raji, and there's pressure on Morgan Burnett, who signs that extension before last year, and they don't get an interception last year at the safety position. Morgan Burnett.
That's incredible.
Yes.
I wonder if that's ever happened in, Packer history.
I don't know, but Morgan Burnett needs to be a difference maker back there in that secondary if they're going to continue to start him. I don't know if I'd start him, to be honest with you. I really don't. And the reason they're going to start him, Darren Perry said, the secondary coach, is because he's got the experience, he knows the plays,
and
he knows what everybody's supposed to be. Well, of course, he didn't mention that.
Yeah, right.
So that's why they're going to play him. But him and Micah Hyde, that's who ends up starting at safety. Okay, but Richardson's been your biggest playmaker so far in the secondary, and you're not going to start him. Clinton Dix is your first-round pick, who's supposed to be really smart and be able to do everything, and he's not going to play except in certain packages. That safety position is going to be interesting to see how it ends up playing out.
But at least they have some possibilities now. I mean,
Sure.
in the past, you didn't have any
There's
possibilities.
more depth now than there's ever been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how things can change so quickly in sports. I mean, the last couple of years, you thought, hey, if there's a weakness of the Packers, our big one is secondary. Yeah. The corners are solid, but their safeties have always been suspect. And all of a sudden, you look at that whole package of defensive backs, and you think, like, Clinton Dix is a pretty good player. I mean, he can probably start on a lot of teams. And all of a sudden, he's going to be coming off the bench, so it just kind of indicates,
To me, it indicates Capers' defense is difficult to learn, which he said before. Most rookies don't play to year 2 or year 3.
Right.
So I'm guessing Clinton Dix is probably trying to figure it out and catch up a little bit here. But eventually, I think he's going to be that guy. And so far, he's shown the ability to play up in the box and stop the run and not shy away from contact. That's good. On the offensive side of the football, offensive line returns intact. New center in J.C. Treader. It appears him and Rodgers are on the same page.
You know where he's from, right?
J.C. Treader?
Yeah.
Where?
He might be the smartest guy. I mean, I'm curious how many teams this college has put in the pros. There can't be many. Cornell.
Yeah.
The football hotbed of the
I thought you were setting me up to tell me he was from like some random city in Wisconsin.
Well, that too. No, but Cornell.
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys have gone from Cornell to the NFL? I mean, it's happened, obviously,
Sure.
but, you don't think in terms of Ohio State or Michigan or Southern Cal.
So now the big question is, who's going to play tight end and who's going to be that guy that replaces Finley? Can you replace Finley? And then the wide receiver depth from 3 down. I mean, Boykin played well last year. Can he repeat what he did last year? That's a big question. No more James Jones, and him and James Jones. There was a 10-catch difference, but yards per catch wise, touchdowns, were almost identical. So who's going to be that fourth guy? Is Devontae Adams, the rookie, going to be good enough to fill Jared Boykin's or James Jones' numbers? Because that's going to be a big issue at this point.
He's an X factor. He's got to come through.
Yeah.
I mean, and same with Boykin. Boykin has to step up. He played pretty well last year when he came in the middle of the season.
Very well. I was shocked.
That's my guy.
Jared Boykin.
You know what I call him? I call him glue. The guy doesn't drop a pass. He did last year.
He has in training camp.
But I mean, so far, everything that's thrown to him, he's caught. And that's why Rodgers throws him the ball. He's dependable. But I have serious concerns about their wide receiving core. If Jordy Nelson goes down with an injury at some point or Cobb goes down, I think that wide receiving core is I don't even think it's average.
McCarthy,
I think it's below average.
I believe McCarthy said this was the deepest wide receiving core he's had.
That's great, but you got to have talent.
Yeah, but I don't see it being the deepest wide receiving core. I totally disagree.
Yeah, right. But I mean, even from a talent standpoint, you look around, even like the NFC North, and you can possibly say they got the worst receiving core in the division. Think of it: Chicago, Detroit,
Minnesota doesn't have anybody. No,
Minnesota's
not in the conversation.
Jennings and Patterson are good wide receivers. And didn't they add someone else too?
Jennings and Patterson, maybe. I don't know.
Their tight end is Rudolph is definitely better than
he's a stud.
Anything. That's what I'm saying. So you take the core. I mean the core of the wide receivers. And the Packers, to me, are like third or fourth.
The Bears with Forte, Bennett at tight end, Jeffrey Marshall, and now they signed San Antonio Holmes.
Right.
That offense could be really good. Unfortunately, they got Cutler at quarterback to throw interceptions, cost them games. But outside
that's the bottom line.
The rest of the offensive piece is pretty good. This Packers football team, get ready for third week of exhibition play against the Oakland Raiders, so you're going to see the starters play longer, obviously, in this game, because the last game they won't play at all. What do you want to see out of this third game?
Aaron Rodgers staying healthy. I don't think he got touched in the last game, did he? I mean, Rodgers must have thought, like, my God, what happened?
Well, it's the Eddie Lacy show in the last game.
This isn't a game. I didn't get hit.
Yeah, Lacy had a good game that last game. They moved the ball right down the field. And again, they were running no huddle.
You're right. I was really disappointed in St. Louis's defense. And what I don't understand, and I've brought this up before, everybody knows that the Packers love to play this, 5-6 yard passing game. And yet, team after team have their cornerbacks playing off the receivers instead of playing bump and run, getting up tight on them. They play 5-6 yards, and Rodgers just picks them apart. Now, the teams in the NFC North, they're smarter. They've seen this tactic before. They get up on top of you. And again, I'm just surprised more teams don't attack the Packers that way.
Like Fisher said, hey, we don't game plan. We knew they were going to run no huddle. We don't game plan at any game. We just come out, run our base defense. Because Fisher's like everybody else. We're not going to show you anything on defense. I'm not going to game plan for you. And McCarthy has said in the past they don't game plan for opponents in the preseason either. So we'll see how this all plays out. I want to see something out of Julius Peppers in this Raiders game. Show me you can get to the quarterback consistently. Because, I mean, again, his knock in Chicago was he didn't play hard all the time.
Right, exactly.
He was lackadaisical. He'd show up in one game, and then he'd disappear in another game. Now, we know he's going to show up for both Bears games. And those may be the two most important games they play all year long but when it comes to this division.
They need for him to have a good, solid season.
I agree.
You know, they can't say, hey, Julius, make 1 or 2 plays.
Gary Ellerson, my co-host on the Wendy's Big Show, said 10 sacks in Pro Bowl.
No disrespect to you. If he gets half that many.
I said, if he gets 10 sacks and he's a Pro Bowl player, he's playing at that caliber, they'll go to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
If he's playing at that level, they will go to the Super Bowl.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. I mean, isn't that, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. High expectations.
Extremely high expectations. The guy's, what, 35?
At 34, 35?
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget, he's a Hall of Famer.
No question, but that has nothing to do with what he is.
No, I know that, but I think people don't realize what he's done in his career.
Yeah, I'm on a mission now. Speaking of Hall of Fame, you got me going. I saw Leroy Butler at the WSSP golf outing. That guy's got to be a Hall of Famer, you know? I mean, it's time people actually recognize how good a player he was. He was the best player at his position for a decade.
Gary.
He was the all-decade safety.
Gary, the Packers organization put up a Lambeau Leaf statue.
I know where you're going with this.
Without Leroy Butler in the statue! With a bunch of fans!
Yeah.
I mean, enough. I don't know. I'm just going to get angry.
But again, if you're selected as the best safety for the decade,
I get it.
You know, it means like, hey, you're the best of the last 10 years in that period of time, and you can't be a Hall of Famer. Oh, come on, let's get it together.
He's Gery Woelfel, the Racine Journal-Times. See Sparky, Fifer. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful day.
Can I bring that up every week for the rest
you can.
Thanks.
No problem. Right here at RacineSportsZone.com. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.